So when you combine the safety data with the durable clinical benefit that we showed already, the risk to benefit ratio becomes very favorable. That's the kind of story that supports not just ongoing development of our technology, but eventual real world uptake, and it also creates confidence in future scalability, both clinically and commercially.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us today for another Virtual Investor What This Means segment. Today we are featuring Autonomix Medical. My name is Janine Thomas. I am CEO of JTCIR, and I will be the moderator. I am very pleased to be joined by Dr. Rob Schwartz. He is Chief Medical Officer of Autonomix. Welcome, Dr. Schwartz.
It's a pleasure to be back with you, Janine.
So, today we are going to discuss the company's recently announced longer term post hoc analysis from its POC 1 study, which demonstrated sustained pain reduction, quality of life gains, and 100% zero opioid use. So, before we get started, I just want to remind our audience that Autonomix Medical is publicly listed on NASDAQ and trades under the ticker AMIX. And during today's discussion, Rob will be making forward looking statements, and I encourage everyone to view the company's latest SEC filings on their website at autonomix.com for the latest information. Okay, Dr. Schwartz, we are going to dive right in. So, if you can tell us, how do these longer term post hoc data reinforce the value proposition of the autonomics procedure for managing pancreatic cancer pain, especially in comparison to opioid based therapies?
Janine, that's a good question. The key takeaway here is the durability of benefit. When you're talking about managing pain in patients with pancreatic cancer, this is a population with very aggressive disease and often very limited time to live. What matters most is a solution that works not just briefly, but reliably over weeks and months. That's exactly what this new data shows. That responding patients, six of them so far, reported a mean pain reduction of 5.08. That's on the VAS pain scale, with a baseline of 7.75 to 2.67, or nearly a 66% decrease in their pain. Patients experience a significant reduction in pain, sustained as far out as a 3 month follow up after a single ablation procedure that we did. That kind of long term relief is very rare, especially in this clinical setting where therapies have often need to be repeated or supplemented frequently just to maintain any semblance of patient comfort. Additionally, this ability to reduce or eliminate opioid use is certainly a major plus. These data show that 100% of responding patients were opioid free at their 3 month follow up endpoint. Truly remarkable result in a setting where patients are very heavily reliant on opioids. They dislike their opioids intensely from the time of diagnosis through their palliative care. Opioids introduce a host of challenges: tolerance, dependency, side effects like constipation, sedation, and the risk of addiction. Also, they often fail to address neuropathic components of cancer pain. That is, they're not effective as they might be otherwise had it not been for the neurologic issues. We believe this treatment has the potential to be a durable, targeted intervention that can hold up over time and give patients a greater sense of stability and control of their day to day lives.
Dr. Schwartz, can you explain the significance of seeing statistically significant pain relief within 24 hours post procedure and sustained benefit from their 3 month follow up?
Yes, a good question again. This is incredibly rare. We didn't realize it would be as good as it is when we first started. It's incredibly impactful. To see a statistically significance in pain relief within 24 hours tells us that the intervention is doing exactly what we had designed it to do initially and hoped it would. That is, to target nerves driving the pain and disrupt them that are signaling almost immediately for patients who are in severe, unrelenting discomfort. Even one day of relief can be impactful. To have that relief from the very start and starting the next day is a very powerful endpoint as well, a very useful clinical tool. But what's more impressive, and frankly, what sets this procedure apart from a physician's perspective, is the ability of the effect and the potential reduction in opioid use, as we've just said. The fact that these patients continue to report pain reduction in their up to 3 month visit post procedure shows that we are creating a brief window of comfort. We are giving them a long stretch of meaningful relief. It means that patients can potentially undergo one minimally invasive procedure and experience sustained relief rather than relying on a cycle of escalating medications with diminishing returns.
So, beyond pain relief, the study showed strong improvements in quality of life markers like sleep, energy, and functional activity. So, how meaningful are these gains for patients with end stage cancer?
They're incredibly meaningful. This is because at the end of life, the way many of these patients are, it's not just about managing symptoms, it's about helping patients reclaim significant parts of their lives. What stood out in the study was a much better result in patients the way they felt across multiple dimensions, not just lower pain scores, but better sleep, more energy, improved ability to do everything in their daily lives. In fact, we saw a 76.5% improvement in overall health status, over 50% improvement in functionality and ability, and similar gains in symptom management. For someone in end stage cancer, this can mean the difference between being able to walk, to engage with family, or just to feel more like themselves. It's about improving the quality of life time that they have left, which is arguably the most important outcome in this setting. While the sample size is small, these are not the marginal gains. They reflect a real shift in how patients experience their daily lives after we treat them.
That's incredible, Dr. Schwartz. So, as you know, this is a What This Means segment. So, I have to ask, what does this new data mean for the ongoing and future development pathway? And could it influence regulatory conversations, trial design, or timing for next steps?
Well, in my opinion, it certainly could. This data set really gives us a strong foundation to advance the program now strategically, clinically, operationally, and potentially even from a regulatory standpoint. Clinically, the consistency of durable pain relief allows us to refine endpoints for future trials. We now have the capability with clear signals on both timing and magnitude of effect, which helps in designing studies that are both impactful and efficient. From the regulatory perspective, the durability of benefit in combination with a strong safety profile gives us good reason to explore streamlined development pathways. That might include early engagement with agencies to align requirements and next steps. But perhaps most importantly, it sets the stage for confident execution, not just for future trials, but for building out a broader clinical adoption down the road. Uh, when these data are compelling, it really becomes much easier to align stakeholders around the next phase of this development.
So, before we close, how should investors interpret the strong safety profile and the dropout data being unrelated to the procedure itself? And what does this say about the risk benefit balance?
Well, from the investor perspective, the safety profile here is extremely encouraging. And this is a population that, as we know, is medically very complex. This pancreatic cancer patient is a very complex scenario. Interventions must not only be effective, but they must be well tolerated, they must be reliable, and they must be easy to implement. What we saw was that in all patient dropouts that were due to natural disease progression and not any technology or medical issue with our strategic procedure. We believe that it signals that the technology is very safe to administer even in a fragile group, and that adverse events aren't muddying the benefit we are currently delivering. So when you combine the safety data with the durable clinical benefit that we showed already, the risk to benefit ratio becomes very favorable. That's the kind of story that supports not just ongoing development of our technology, but eventual real world uptake, and it also creates confidence in future scalability, both clinically and commercially.
Dr. Schwartz, congratulations on these data and certainly exciting times ahead for Autonomix. And with that, this concludes our What This Means segment featuring Autonomix Medical. And I'd like to thank Dr. Rob Schwartz for joining us today. And I'd also like to thank our audience for your time and attention as always. And as a reminder, Autonomix trades on NASDAQ under the ticker AMIX. And if you like what you saw today, I encourage you to visit autonomix.com for more information on the company and to sign up to follow the company to receive their alerts as well as follow their social channels on X, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram to stay current on the latest information. Dr. Schwartz, thanks again, and I wish everyone a great rest of your day.